Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the United States Hot Rod Association Championship Mud Racing and Monster Truck Tour. I'm Brett Kevner, and along with my partner Jerry Devine, this time the action will be coming our way from Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Jerry, we're down to the last few events now in the 1990 championship season. Just a few weeks ago, we saw a points change in the Monster Truck race, and that new leader, Taurus, is here tonight.
That's right, and anything can happen. The racing is going to be hot and heavy tonight. They're all out to win, so let's get to the action.
I'll tell you something, the super modified mud racers are looking at one of the quickest and fastest mud pits we've ever seen, so it should be wild. Stay with us. Coming up, Monster Truck Qualifying.
Tonight's event being brought to you in part by Kicker, high-performance automotive speaker systems by Stillwater Designs.
Well, once again, Jerry, this is a very typical arena floor course. Very short distance. 4 trucks qualifying for position. Ray Perkowski out of St. Louis with the Evil Force Ford tow truck, and the man who just recently took over the points championship lead in the far lane, the Taurus Chevrolet of Jack Willman. Now, this will be solo runs for qualifying against the clock.
Well, Ray Perkowski definitely has a disadvantage on this particular night because his truck weighs 20,000 pounds.
Well, Perkowski obviously had problems on that run, Jerry. You could see the machine bog right after it left the starting line. He gets the first shot at the clocks. And the elapsed time for Ray Perkowski in the Evil Force, 5.12 seconds. Now, looking at the replay, you can see 22,000 pounds in the air. That high is a major accomplishment. But right there, I'm almost inclined, Jerry, to believe that his foot may have slipped off the throttle when he landed that way.
Very possible. These drivers really get beat up inside of these machines.
And of course, Perkowski bouncing around a little bit, almost ending up in the mud pit. 48 inches of slime over there. That wouldn't have been too pretty.
Now take a look at Jack Willman. This is Taurus, and this is a new breed of monster truck. This is built especially for racing. It weighs about 10,000 pounds, so you can see he's got a almost 10,000 pounds advantage over his Ray Perkowski. Whoa! Definitely not a Jack Willman.
Boy, you got that right, and he is dejected. Boy, you can see the look on his face in the cockpit. Very seldom do we see Willman have problems. And remember, this is the truck that just moved into the lead for the World Points Championship a few weeks ago. Straight up wheel stand, comes down sideways. Willman had no idea where he was. He actually had to stop and get his bearings. And then, of course, he realized that he had used up so much time, there was no point in continuing. The elapsed time, a disappointing 5.77 second run.
Well, here is Rob Morris. This is Four Wheel Crazy. We saw him first back in Anaheim, way back in our January show, and Rob has been progressing right along in the 1990 season. Definitely is a strong competitor, and moving up in the point series, and of course would like to win here again tonight.
And certainly Rob Morris was an upset winner in one of his first events ever at that Anaheim, California show, and he's managed to retain a position in the top 10 in the World Championship point standings throughout the season. He's been very consistent, Jerry.
Good run.
That's the way it's supposed to be done. Morris, amazingly, still trying to get a little higher than he normally does. He's very good at keeping the truck low to the ground and trying to get more power out of it. He gets a little high. The rear end swings around a bit. The elapsed time, though, excellent. 3.21 seconds. That'll put him in the #1 spot with the Texas-based Ford.
All right, this is the Predator, Alan Pizzo, doing the driving, and he takes it over real easily.
Well, the elapsed time, believe it or not, is still good enough for the #2 spot at 4.91 seconds. And Pizzo is one that we have seen on previous ESPN shows really drive to the wall. He is not afraid to hurt equipment. But again, there seems to be a problem, Jerry, with the first car in that far lane. Most of the trucks we've seen have been getting a little crossed up when they hit it.
That's true.
Well, that will conclude monster truck qualifying, and surprisingly enough, the number 1 points man is dead last in the field, but we've got a lot more wild action coming your way from Cincinnati as the super modified mud racers anxiously head for what they believe may be one of the quickest and fastest mud courses in U.S. Hobbit Association history. The super modified mud racers coming up.
Stay with us.
The Riverfront Coliseum in Cincinnati, Ohio, as the U.S. Hobbit Association Mud Racing and Monster Truck Tour gets ready for super modifieds. And Jerry, this track looks fast.
It's going to be a great night of racing, so let's get into it. First racer coming up, Jeremy Findlay with the kicker.
Jeremy doesn't hit a national event tour quite as heavy as some of the other drivers, but this Chevy-powered Jeep has proven to be pretty stout, and he's the first man out. He'll show us what kind of course we're looking at.
You can see that tank of nitrous right there under the dashboard there. All purged, ready to go.
We've got a fast track. There's no question about that. Jerry stopping within the required distance. Look at this slow motion replay of a launch. Just skimming the surface exactly the way it's supposed to be. The elapsed time, 1.90 seconds on the very first run. That's on a world record of 1.81, Jerry.
That's right. We should point out now that these racers have 80 feet to start and 80 feet to stop. This is the Mud King, Alan Ayers.
Another relative newcomer to the U.S. Hobbit Association National Event Tour. Chevy-powered Jeep with an extended wheelbase fiberglass body. It's a Stormer.
You can see the cable hooked to the back of the vehicle. That's hooked to the kill switch.
That motor will automatically shut down right at that 80-foot finish line, regardless of what the driver does.
All right, we're just about ready to go. Another great run. Can he stop? He gets it stopped.
Hard on the brakes in the sandy shutdown area. And I'll tell you what, the Mud King, despite its relative obscurity on the U.S. Hobbit Association Tour, has just put down one heck of a pass. The fuel-injected machine, again, watch those front tires. When they are up above the mud, just skimming the surface, you know you've got a nearly perfect run. He keeps it very straight on a very narrow pit, I might add, Jerry. 2.29 seconds. Remember, we're qualifying the 4 quickest machines to return for the overall championship battle.
Oh, look at this one. Just passing through Rick Brickeye. A beautiful machine.
Rick was last seen at our Tulsa event on ESPN with his fuel-injected Chevy-powered Jeep funny car. The big white Chevy-powered CJ who's up in the starting line. You can see the tires. Remember, in U.S. Hobbit Association competition, you have to use street-legal tires, but you can change the tread pattern to anything you want.
That's right. These drivers cut these things. Good run! Whoa! It's getting a little slippery down there.
That's right, and remember, it's only 80 feet from the finish line that you have to shut these things down. And Brickeye manages to do it, even putting it a little sideways. 2.34 seconds for Rick Brickeye, carrying the front wheels across the finish line. That will qualify him now in the number 3 spot for the quick 4 shootout. And Brickeye may have been a little bit down on power. There you see a good look at the shutdown area, getting a little slippery, like you said.
Our next racer rolls to the line. It's Dirty Habit, driven by Rick Mom.
This one's different than any other, Jerry.
Buick-powered V6.
This is a 1932 Austin Bantam body with a V6 engine going for a lightweight, high-horsepower combination. This machine weighs about 350 pounds less than any other here. That V6 can still put out about 500 horsepower.
Oh, a distinctive sound.
No question about it. That may be a sound you hear a lot more in U.S. Hobbit Association mud racing. And that's a picture-perfect run. The lightweight kept the machine up above the pit, and your machine is still clean at the end of the run. You know you've made a good pass. Look at this thing, just skimming the surface. The elapsed time, 2.70 seconds, will get Rick Mom into the quick 4 on the bump spot, or 4th position right now. But, Jerry, that may be the wave of the future.
We definitely want to keep an eye on that one as the weeks roll by. Coming up next, Blue Max, Melvin Brown. We've seen Melvin run a number of times. Homemade body.
One of the first men under 2 seconds flat in this sport on an 80-foot pit, and this is his hometown crowd. He's got 2 machines in competition.
It's a screamer. Let's watch him now. Melvin Brown. See the electronic photo cells in the foreground here.
of bounds. We'll have to look at the replay to see if he went out of bounds. Melvin Brown thinks he did. Remember, not only do you have to stop it within 80 feet after the finish line, you've also got to stay away from those outer boundaries on each side of the lane, and this is a narrow course. There you see him hooked to the outer boundary, trying to keep it straight. No, he takes down the finish line poles, and Melvin Brown wastes an excellent run in the Blue Max. A tough, tough break.
Well, they're putting the finish line back in place. And we'll be ready to run here in a second. But that's the way it goes. I think he was trying to avoid one of the ruts in the mud there. He turned it hard to the left, and he just couldn't recover.
Did everything he could. But here's one of the old men of mud racing from right here in Cincinnati. This is Chuck Stone and the Razzmatazz Jeep. Now, Chuck runs this as an off-roader, a hill climber, and a mud racer. It is a big, heavy, heavy vehicle. We're talking about 3,000 pounds.
Good run! And I think he went out of bounds.
Boy, if he did, it was just at the finish line. Stone steers the thing away from the finish line markers and almost puts her down on the plastic on the floor under power.
Well, here's the replay.
See what happens. It hooks this time to the driver's right. There you see it go out of bounds. That's enough right there. And then it takes down the other finish line pole at 2.31 seconds. It would have been good enough to get in the field, but Rick Mom's V6 stays number 4 at 2.70 seconds because of that DQ. We just saw Melvin Brown in the Blue Max, Jerry. Here's his other ride.
That's right. This one is called the Red Heat. Rear engine dragster.
We should point out that this machine took Melvin Brown to the winner's circle at this event last year.
This is getting to be one of the wildest events we've had all season.
Nitrous oxide injected, fuel injected dragster. Look where he's lining up, to the far left-hand side of that lane, Jerry.
That's the driver's option, where they want to line up. And he stops it in time. Look at Melvin shaking his head after that one. Jerry, I want to tell you, that looked almost as quick as Jim Weber's 1.81 second world record set almost 10 months ago. Look at this, lined up to the far left-hand side of the lane. It leaves the starting line and heads right. He has to correct. Then it comes around too hard. He's almost out of bounds. Sideways at the finish line. Look at the elapsed time, 1.85 seconds. That'll get him in with one of the quickest runs we've ever seen. And he stopped it so quick.
Well, we've still got a lot of super modified mud racing to go, including a run by this man, the old pro himself, Clay Langley. Stay with us. One of the veterans of this sport with his supercharged small block Nitro Express entry. He's got to go 2.33 seconds to qualify for the quick 4 for the showdown.
This is a fast-running machine. Let's watch him now. Clay Langley, and he gets it shut down.
Tell you, the sand trap at the end of this 80-foot long course is stopping these machines very well. It hasn't gotten slippery yet to speak of. Clay Langley having the same problem as you pointed out, Jerry, with those ruts. He was within an inch of going out of bounds down there, but at 2.31 seconds, he will qualify for the quick 4 right now. That bumps out Rick Eye's 2.34 second run. But here's one of the wildest of the wild.
That's Gold Fever, Ron Smith behind the controls. This is a screamer.
You're a drag racing fan. All this is a 4-wheel drive, AA fuel altered 1948 Fiat Topolino supercharged methanol Chevy, and one of the most ill-handling cars on the tour, Jerry.
That's for sure. We have seen this machine just about do everything down the track. But a good driver, Ron Smith.
On the brakes, he finally stops it in time. Boy, that one went farther than anybody did. Looking at the slow-mo, lots and lots of horsepower, and like you said, a great driving job. He kept that thing straight as an arrow. Look at the elapsed time, 1.88 seconds. That's a career best for Ron Smith, and that'll put him in the show number 2.
All right, coming up next is the Wild Thing, Ken Crum, rear engine dragster.
wild piece. And Crum has used, of all things, a DeSoto Hemi engine in this car for years. This is his first run ever with an all-aluminum Chevrolet. He's got to go quicker than 2.29 seconds to get into the quick 4. Believe it or not, Jerry, that's the last of the 2-second times. This could be one of the quickest fields in history. This is a
A serious fire in that, Brett.
And it's still on fire as he stops in the shutdown area. The safety crew running up to kill the engine. And now it's just a matter of excess oil burning on the exhaust pipes. What an incredible engine explosion. That is the single largest fire we have ever had in U.S. Hobbit Association competition. Look at it carrying the right front wheel, then an absolutely incredible fireball that burns all the way through. Look at the time, 1.91 seconds on fire for Ken Crum. I cannot believe that kind of action, Jerry.
A brand new motor, and it just let go. We're going to get another shot of it.
Unbelievable explosion, and the most incredible thing is that the machine stays under power all the way through. I don't know exactly what caused the fire, a blown head gasket, a valve cover gasket. It may have even been an engine explosion. As far as connecting rods are concerned, Crum, hard on the brakes at this point, probably does not realize that the machine is on fire. And you got to remember, that's first run on that motor, Jerry.
Listen, T. A good run.
Boy, Chad Miller hard on the brakes. Oh, within feet, and he salutes the crowd as he stops it within feet of the outer bounds. Believe it or not, it takes a 1.91 second run to get in this field. Miller makes it at 1.88 seconds. That bumps Ken Crum. And the wild thing from the field, Jerry, it was the quickest field in history going into that run. Now it takes a 1.90 to get in this program.
What a wild, wild event. Our next machine rolls to the line.
The Bog Bandit out of the state of Iowa. Greg Albers, believe it or not, one of the only supercharged Chrysler-powered machines in this sport.
Boy, he's ready to go. He got out of it. Got a little crossed up there.
You could hear him on and off the throttle all the way, and Albers knows that that run won't even become close to a qualifier. Here you see it carrying the wheels. He gets in and out of the throttle. You see the front end go down and then come back up. A career best for the Chrysler team, 1.98 seconds. Now, Jerry, that would be the quickest run of any other event, and it won't even qualify here.
Unbelievable competition. This is Bud Jeep. James Cole doing the driving. Good run, and he gets it stopped.
Now, Jerry, we're seeing more and more drivers head down into that shutdown area. What's going on here?
Well, the track's getting a little bit sloppy down there at the far end, and they're sliding a little bit further toward that DQ line.
1.95 seconds for the Budweiser Funny Car Jeep, and it won't get in the field. I can't even believe I'm saying that, Jerry.
I'm amazed that nobody has gone over that disqualification line yet. Stuffy's T, Joe Kelly behind the controls. We've seen him quite a few times here on the ESPN show.
Been doing a great job holding his own in the top 10 in the World Points Championship from Atlanta, Georgia. The supercharged 1923 Ford T Roadster can put down some numbers.
Jody, Mr. Sure. Good run.
Hard on the brakes, and he just makes it. No question about it. It's getting sloppy down there as every one of these drivers now has to just pray that they can stop it within 80 feet. Look at this. Another 1 second elapsed time. Kelly gets thrown around in the cockpit on a 1.95 second shot, and it won't get in.
We'll be right back, so stay with us. We're back, and look at this one, Brett, a full-bodied funny car.
Mark Watrous of the Michigan Off-Road Center sponsored Ford Thunderbird with supercharged Ford power. And if the car looks familiar, it's the same that took Mark Oswald to a 1987 IHRA Nitro Funny Car World Championship on the drag strip.
More and more drivers going to these full-body cars.
And that's what the crowd really likes, I think. They like to see the Fords, the Chevys, the Pontiacs, everything else.
Great run.
Now, looked like Watrous may have been a little concerned about how slippery that shutdown area was getting, Jerry. As you pointed out, it's getting slippery. It looked like he shut the throttle off well before the finish line. 557 cubic inches of supercharged Ford. Watch the tires. Yeah, he was out of the throttle an honest 6-7 feet before the finish, and 2.16 seconds won't get him anywhere near this field. We've already seen an all-time record 8 entries under 2 flat.
Oh, look at this beautiful little machine. It's like a pro stock Kevin Polish, the Ushra Hustler.
How about a 1989 IROC Z28 Camaro? Carbureted, big block Chevy, on nitrous oxide. There you see the nitrous oxide purge. This is what they like.
A beautiful machine.
4-wheel drive Pro modified on the starting line.
Good run, but not quite enough horsepower.
It almost looked like the car spun the tires off the starting line. The nose may have dipped. It looked like he broke the front end here during this run somewhere. Let's watch if it digs in somewhere. A couple of backfires, and it looks like just mud spraying up through the wheel wells broke the front end fiberglass on cold. The elapsed time won't be good enough to get in.
All right, pulling to the line now. Expect no mercy. This is Todd Marriott.
Mud Racer's choice of horsepower, the big blue canister housing the nitrous oxide. Takes a record 1.90 seconds run to get in the quick 4 shootout.
Good run, but something happened.
Boy, there's no question that would have been a pass. Now, interestingly, the car left the starting line well, but then something shut off. It could have been the new kill switch that Todd Marion was utilizing this weekend. Now, they've already started, while we're watching this replay, to tow the car back to the starting line. Apparently, Marion will get another chance at this because of a brand new one-of-a-kind kill switch that he's using, Jerry.
The officials have determined that it is not his fault, and so they're going to give him another shot at it.
Now, this is basically a solid state type kill switch rather than the pull type we normally use, so we'll see what happens this time.
Todd Marriott, a good run.
Well, I'll tell you, he came right back with a beauty, didn't he? No question about it. The machine worked perfectly this time, even carrying a little extra weight with the mud from the first run. Straight as an arrow, skimming the surface with the front wheels, 2.06 seconds. He shuts it off right at the finish line. It's an excellent run. Unfortunately, it still won't qualify for this incredibly quick field.
All right, oh, look at this bright red machine. This is the TNT Racer, T-Ray.
T-Ray out of Kentucky campaigns at this event every single year with his fuel-injected Chevy-powered Jeep funny car. Obviously a good looker.
Oh, you'll see this machine coming through the bog.
That's the nitrous oxide system being purged, checking that extra oxygen is going to the motor.
Good run, but I don't think it's quite fast enough.
Boy, again, we're seeing more people slide down towards that disqualification boundary at the end of the shutdown area. And again, Jerry, we're looking at ruts developing. That's becoming a problem. T-Ray really had to manhandle that machine through there. 2.07 seconds, bouncing all over the place. Not good enough to qualify for the Grand Slam shootout.
All right, the American-made Jim Weber. This is a strong running machine.
The national ET record holder at 1.81 seconds, and the Milwaukee driver with supercharged Chevy power has to know that this track can hold world record times.
Let's see how he's going to handle that far end with it getting real slick down there. Lots of wheel speed, and He makes it.
Man, that was close. And Jim Weber knows it. He was on the brakes hard. A little bit of tire spin off the line, but look at him steering out of the ruts and then getting sucked right back into them. 1.93 seconds, and it won't qualify. But look at this man trying to stop this thing. In fact, he was trying to spin that car out, Jerry. He had those wheels cranked, trying to get a little extra distance to spin.
All right, our next racer pulling to the line. This is the Mudbuster with Mark Green.
A truck that we have said for the last 3 years on ESPN has one of the best working suspensions in mud racing. Another Wisconsin driver, fuel-injected Chevy power.
Withdrawing his starting position this far down into the field, he's going to need that advantage. Lots of power, and he gets it stopped.
He does indeed, but I'll tell you, from our one starting line angle, you could see a lot of tire spin. Let's see if it shows up on the replay. Oh, yeah, he had the wheel spinning big time before the thing ever started moving forward. Rather off-pace effort from our Green, 2.19 seconds. That vehicle has been down around 2 flat and 80 feet. And again, when you're looking at the quickest field in U.S. Hobbit Association mud racing history, you'd better come up with some numbers.
All right, this is Byron Tinky, Bad Habit. The find window coupe, and Byron knows his way around. This is an excellent driver on a strong running machine.
The last winner we saw on our U.S. Hobbit Association ESPN coverage, he won the event in Worcester, Massachusetts, his first in a long time. He'd love to repeat.
And he shuts off early.
Again, that may have been a kill switch problem. Byron uses a standard type kill switch, and because this mud is so sticky, he still goes through at 2.07 seconds, almost out of bounds. If the kill switch problem affected the vehicle, it would have killed the power past the halfway. And under normal circumstances, the officials won't give you another shot unless you lose power before the 20-foot mark.
Tom Marsh with the Intruder rolling to the line.
Another Ohio driver here in front of his hometown crowd. Traveling companion of Chad Miller and the Instant T. They travel together across the country.
Visor down in place, and he's just about ready to go. Strong run! Whoa!
Almost taking it off the course. I don't think he thought he had enough room to stop, but we saw a couple of pops and bangs during the run. May be able to see him on this head-on shot. 2.19 seconds. Will not get him in. Boy, he was nearly thrown out of bounds by those ruts down at the finish line. All 4 wheels off the ground at one point, and Todd Marsh doesn't have to worry about being a part of the Grand Slam shootout. Well, we still got more action, Jerry.
Coming up, the monster trucks.
Their first round of eliminations next.
Don't go away. Stay with us. We're back with the U.S. Hot Rod Mud and Monster Truck Racing Championships. And Brett, all year long now, we've been watching these pros push their machinery to the limits, fighting for those precious points. And the world champion Mud and Monsters will be determined very soon now in our series finals at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago on Friday and Saturday night, November 30th and December 1st. I can hardly wait to see who's going to turn out on top.
That's for sure. Here's the way they'll line up. It'll be #1 qualifier Rob Morris and 4-wheel crazy against Evil Force, Ray Perkowski's tow truck.
And we got the Predator with Alan Pizzo driving, going against Jack Willman and Taurus.
It's going to be interesting to see Jack Willman come from the dead last qualifying spot, especially against a young man who is obviously tough. Alan Pizzo qualified #2 for this show. Here's your #1 qualifier, though, Rob Morris out of Dallas, Texas, the 4-wheel crazy. And I shouldn't say Dallas. He's actually from Fort Worth, or right in between there. But he's up against the heavyweight.
That's right, 20,000 pounds heavy. Evil Force, Ray Perkowski, is from St. Louis. Unbelievable height on that tow truck.
Isn't that incredible? 22,000 pounds, 15 feet in the air. And Rob Morris didn't have it that easy. He was mighty crossed up down at the finish line. It looked like Perkowski may have gotten a slight hole shot here, but watch on the right side of your screen, you want to talk about a sailing piece of equipment. Unbelievable. Now you see Rob Morris on the left doing a nosedive and a bounce with the rear end coming around to the right. It was a pretty wild ride for the #1 qualifier, but the 4-wheel crazy goes to the next round.
Let's take another look at four-wheel crazy now. Rob Morris.
I think if you watch inside the cockpit, you'll also see Rob getting thrown around quite a bit on this landing. A little bit higher than he normally goes, but you see the rear end come around to the left and then back around to the right. What a wild ride.
Oh. These monster trucks are so hard on these drivers. It's incredible.
You know, the safety equipment that these drivers have started to wear doesn't just include a helmet. It's kidney belts and everything else. It's a rough ride.
Alan Pizzo, the Predator, the blue truck on the far side, going against Jack Willman and Taurus.
Seen two Fords battle out. Now it's two Chevrolets side by side. But remember, where we would normally consider Taurus the overwhelming favorite in this matchup, he had problems in qualifying. He was dead last qualifier. The Predator actually has the advantage.
No question this time.
I have no idea what happened to Alan Pizzo. He never even left the starting line when the green flag was thrown. Jack Willman was ready with Taurus, and he showed that qualifying run was indeed a fluke. Look at this launch. He hits it, but keeps it low. Absolutely perfect form. It didn't go sideways one way or the other. It did come off the cars a little rough. You can see Willman getting thrown around in there, but there really wasn't anything in the middle.
So it's Rob Morris, the four-wheel crazy, going to go against Jack Willman in the final.
What a wild, wild way to go. And Jack Willman comes from the number 4 qualifying spot to take on the number 1 qualifier when we get into monster truck competition. And we've got our 4 qualifiers in the mud racing shootout. Here's the way it stands in the Grand Slam. Number 1 qualifier, Melvin Brown in the Red Heat Dragster at a track record 1.85 second run. Ron Smith in the Gold Fever at 188. Chad Miller's Instant T at 188. And Jeremy Finley in the Kicker Jeep at 190. The quickest 4-car Grand Slam shootout in history. And it's coming up next.
Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
But we've got one last run in the super modified ranks. Byron Tinkey's bad habit has been granted another run because of the kill switch problems he suffered, Jerry Devine, with the very sticky mud we have here.
Well, let's see what Byron does this time. Getting a second chance at it.
Got to go quicker than 1.90 seconds to qualify for the Grand Slam shootout. If he fails to make it, our other 4 qualifiers are standing by and ready to go with the first round. Byron not very satisfied with where he's lined up. Now has it in the beam.
Unbelievable times. Here we go. Watch him now. Byron Tinkey.
Good pass. He stops it in time. The machine was actually airborne down at the finish line. He's got to go quicker than 190 to get in. Moving around in those ruts. Airborne right at the finish line. The elapsed time, 2.07 seconds, will not be enough to get Byron Tinkey in the final. So we remain with a 1.90 second bump spot. And here's the man who qualified 4th in the quickest field ever, Jerry.
Well, here we go. This is the first now of our Fast 4.
Jeremy Finley in the Kicker. The Chevy powered Jeep.
The shootout begins. Gets crossed up a little bit coming out of the gate, but then he had a good run.
No question, and you have to expect the times to be a little bit slower in the shootout. And you know why, Jerry, because that starting line is such a mess after having 24 vehicles leave on it. As you can see, Finley had to manhandle this machine as, again, those 2 ruts down this very narrow course are making things extremely difficult. The elapsed time, as we expected, a little bit slower for Finley, 2.09 seconds. Remember, he was the first man down the track at 1.90 seconds. He slowed down because of that slippery starting line.
And our next racer rolls to the line.
This is the man who ran an unbelievable 1.85 second shot. Melvin Brown in the Red Heat Dragster, the defending grand champion.
Rear engine design. They feel that putting the engine in the back like this, a little bit more weight on those rear wheels.
When this thing hooks up, those front wheels don't do a thing.
Gets the front end up in the air a little bit.
Melvin, we can expect him to probably slow down, but that was much quicker than 2.09 seconds after he qualified at 185. The rear engine nitrous injected dragster. Watch the front wheels. About the 30-foot mark, he picks him up there, just skimming the surface. The elapsed time, 1.88 seconds. Incredible consistency for Brown. He puts the pressure on the rest of the field.
Especially when the track conditions are with what they are. All right, this is Gold Fever.
Ron Smith out of Michigan qualified the supercharged four-wheel drive Fiat Topolino at 188 300ths of a second behind Melvin Brown. He's now got to better that 188 to take the lead.
Looks like in between rounds he even cleaned it up a little bit.
Did a heck of a job too.
Boy, the power is there. Can he stop it? He does.
Within about 5 feet of the disqualification boundary, Smith right there. He had to go quicker than 1.88 seconds to win. Leaves the line picture perfect straight. The ruts didn't seem to affect him. The ET, another 1.88 second run. He may have tied Melvin Brown, but in this sport, you've got to better the time to beat.
All right, the Instant T, the final one in the Fast Four. So this will be the final racer in order to take the win. Let's see if he can do it. Hands up in the air, showing that he's clear of all the controls.
As the doctor hooks up the kill switch, Chad Miller, you remember back in the beginning of the year in Tampa, put serious damage onto this thing by flipping it 2 times in front of 64,000 people, but here he is back and ready to go. The supercharged 1927 Ford Street Roadster trying to beat 1.
Puts the pedal down, a good run.
I like the arms out of the cockpit. He already knew he was going to stop it in time. He leaves the starting line with a little bit of tire spin. You see the rear end come around to the side, but then straight and true, a wheel stand at half track, but he shut it off just a little early. The elapsed time, 1:91, and he will not better Melvin Brown in the red heat for the 2nd consecutive year. The Ohio dragster pilot takes the win. Melvin Brown, red heat, leading the way at another 188. Second, with an identical 188, is Ron Smith in the Gold Fever. Then Chad Miller's 191 and the 209 by Jeremy Findlay.
Well, coming up, the finals in the monster trucks.
As we go into the monster truck final round, Kelly O'Neill had a chance earlier to talk to Jack Willman with Taurus.
You've been running neck and neck with Bigfoot in the point standings, and it really looks like you're going to take it away. Bigfoot's not here tonight, though. How do you feel about that?
Well, we sure wish he was here because, you know, we always like to run against the best. And if we take over the top spot, we want to do it against the top trucks. But, you know, if that's the way it's going to be, I'll take it.
Okay, now in the last race you were in, you had some problems with your truck. What went wrong?
Well, we had some problems. It was flying crooked in the air. When it'd leave the cars, it'd want to turn sideways on me. And when it would hit the ground, of course, it would hit the ground crooked. And after about the 4th time of doing that, well, I broke a wheel off. And, of course, we done quite a bit of body damage. And we kind of got it repaired fairly decent. Not as good as I would like it, but with the races being close together, you know, it's presentable anyway.
So how do you think you'll do tonight?
I feel like we're going to do pretty good. We've done some testing at home, and I think we got our problems worked out, and we'll find out tonight.
Well, good luck, Jack, and we hope everything holds together for you.
Well, thank you very much.
She also had the chance to talk to driver Rob Morris, driver of Four Wheel Crazy.
Rob, you've had a great season so far this year. You've stayed consistently near the top in the points standing. Now, there's a little something different about your truck. It's heavier than most of the trucks. Why is that?
Well, to me, a race truck has to be one that it has to stay together. We do so many shows throughout the year, and you don't have time to make any major repairs. My truck is heavier than some of the fast race trucks here, but then again, it's lighter than most trucks too. There may be a thing or two that I'd like to change sometime in the future, but this truck works well for the majority of the tracks that we run, so I'll probably leave it, you know, like it is for a while.
Okay, Rob, tonight at this show, there's some really tough competition. Taurus is here. How do you think that you'll do against him?
Well, me and Jack have run several races together. They've been really close. We've had to review some of them, you know, on tape, frame at a time. It's really a tough truck, but I'm just as tough. I think I'll do very well.
Well, it promises to be a great show tonight, and we wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Now back to you, Brett.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And Jerry, you got to admit, this is going to be a war. Ford and Chevy and a points battle at stake.
The stage is set. Let's go to the action. Rob Morris, ready to go. Four-wheel crazy. The blue Ford truck and the Chevy truck, Taurus. Jack Willman behind the controls, ready to go.
Pretty strange evening for the purple Chevrolet from Granite City, Illinois, qualifying dead last in the field, but then showing us that he always had the power.
This should be a good race. Those of you sitting at home watching, who do you think is going to be the winner? This is going to be close.
Rob Morris already pointing out he thinks he's tougher than Taurus, the points leader. Let's see.
Chevrolet against Ford.
You couldn't ask for a wilder landing than that. Jack Willman keeps it upright and takes the win. And the Taurus machine being handed the checkered flag, and the crowd loves it. Watch the right side of your screen. Willman got the whole shot. Look at this landing, literally in the mud pit, through the finish line pole, sideways again, and he keeps it upright. Incredible.
The finish line pole actually going over the whole truck and rolling across the hood.
Incredible. Absolutely amazing job by Jack Willman. Here was Rob Morris in the other lane. He apparently took the conservative approach, keeping it relatively low to the ground. After going airborne a couple of times, he also gets sideways in the air. Now, it's very interesting that Jack Willman said that he was trying to correct the problem of the truck getting sideways in the air, Jerry, but it did it again.
It certainly did, and that's going to be a difficult problem to solve.
Especially if it gets that out of control when it's in the air. But Jack Willman pulls it off with an incredible victory from the dead last starting position here at the Riverfront Coliseum. And indeed, that will give Willman a big boost in the World Points Championship. When we come back, we'll talk to our winners and check out the World Point standings. Stay with us. Winner of one of the wildest shows ever, Jack Willman, is on the floor. What happened in qualifying? You were dead last.
In the qualifying, when you draw the number one or two spot, where the cars ain't so smashed down, you kind of save your truck for the later on in the event, you know. And most generally, Brett, as you know, as you watch me, if I draw a number one or two, I won't go too hard on qualifying. I'll try to save the truck for the tougher competition.
Now, in the first round, you had the right lane of competition. You ended up in the left lane in the final. Why?
Well, I didn't have a lane choice. That's one of the things whenever you back off on qualifying, that you don't get a lane choice. Your opponent gets lane choice. But, you know, sometimes in different situations, I don't worry about that because I figure the truck can handle any lane I put it in.
Now, we've seen you in some pretty wild positions, Jack, but in the final round, that truck almost got away from you. You have to admit that.
Yes, it sure did, Brad. It was pulling to it picked the left front wheel and pulled to the right on me is what it did.
Now, you seem to be paying more attention to your starting line reactions recently, almost like a drag racing standpoint where the whole shot is all that matters. Is that true?
That's exactly right. And we just put a new transmission in it because at the last event, we wasn't getting out of the hole. As a matter of fact, we figured we lost 2/10 in the hole. And 2/10 don't sound like much, but in these short drag racing type deals, that's quite a bit. So we put a new transmission in it. And, of course, you could tell it was lifting the left front wheel on it. So you could see the transmission was hooking up and we wasn't losing so much time out of the gate.
Well, Jack, we have a monitor down there on the floor right in front of you. Look at the monitor and tell us about this wild final.
Okay, yeah, you can see it, the left front wheel come up and it goes to the right. And then I just started trying to correct it from that point. And, of course, it made a pretty good landing, you can see, and I just kind of kept it under control, you know, and give it some gas, and it pulled out of it. Of course, I kind of ended up in the mud pit there a little bit, which I didn't really want to do. Got to wash your truck now.
It is absolutely amazing to me how you can sit there and watch that and say, yeah, it was under control. Didn't it feel like it was starting to get away from you when it was in the air? It almost had to.
No, it didn't. You know, I've been doing this for 11 years and kind of get used to it, I guess. You know, somebody knew it would have probably concerned them quite a bit, Brett.
Well, heck of a job tonight. I know you want to win the World Championship. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Brett. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Well, here's Melvin Brown. Melvin, tough steering that car with the wheels up.
No, not really. You just got to go the way the rear end feels. If it starts getting out of control, you got to let out and steer it.
Well, take a look at the monitor and tell us about that run.
Okay.
Well, it looked like it had spun the tires a little bit, Melvin.
Yeah, it was doing pretty good right in there. Somewhere right about there, it started taking off to the right side, and I had let out. I thought it was going to get out of control. My brakes were wet, too.
Well, regardless, an incredible job. A pair of 1.8-second runs, your second consecutive win in front of your hometown fans here. A simply tremendous job.
Thanks a lot, Brett.
We also have Mr. Fireball Ken Crum down there for replacing a DeSoto with a Chevy. That was pretty spectacular. What happened?
Well, we're really not sure. It seems to be making a little more horsepower than the other motor did, and we think we blew the tires away leaving the line. It started pulling pretty good when we left the line, and really don't know what happened. We'll have to get it back, get it apart, see what happened.
Well, take a look at the monitor, Ken, and
Okay.
tell us what happened.
Well, I mean, right there, it looked like it left hard. It pulled the tires up like it should have, and right there, as it detonates, like the car spins around, it still seems to be pulling pretty good. Inside the car, it shook a little bit, but it didn't. Really couldn't tell it happened.
Did you know it was on fire?
Not at all, not until he ran up and told me, you know, try to get out of the car, it's on fire, and I just told him to put the car out, you know.
Still, we hope to see you back soon, Ken. It was a rough way to debut any car.
Okay, thanks.
Certainly one of the wildest runs we've ever seen in U.S. Highway Association competition.
One of the wildest shows we've had here on ESPN.
That's for sure. And now with only 2 events left in the 64 race 1990 U.S. Highway Association National Event Tour, the points races are getting serious. Let's take a look at the super modified and monster truck point standings. In the mud racing standings, you'll notice one big change. The number 5 spot, the Red Heat dragster of Melvin Brown, our winner here tonight, moved him from the second half to the top half in the points. However, Tom Martin's Mud Patrol still leads. Jim Weber's American Made is second.
Mystic Warrior, number 3, Stuffy's T, number 4, and like you say, Red Heat, number 5.
Be a big boost for Melvin Brown going into the final 2 events of the year. In the second half of the top 10, Ron Smith's Gold Fever, because of his final round appearance here in the shootout this evening, moves into number 6. Chad Miller in the Instant T, same deal. His appearance here tonight put him 7th. Now, Melvin Brown's other machine, the Blue Max, is now number 8, with Byron Tinkey's Bad Habit 9th and the Midnight Magic of David Ray in the number 10 spot. In monster truck racing points, we've got a leader that's held on, Jerry.
That's right. Taurus, number 1. Bigfoot, number 2. And Fred Schaefer in Barefoot, number 3.
Rob Morris, the 4-wheel Crazy Ford, with his runner-up performance here tonight, ends up 4th, hanging on to a top 5 spot. Jim Reese in the Eliminator is number 5.
In the number 6 position, Rob Fuchs, First Blood, the AM/PM Rocket, number 7. Excalibur, number 8.
Ray Perkowski in the Evil Force tow truck, because of his qualifying effort here tonight, got 9th, and Jeff Maynard in the High Voltage Jeep hangs on to the number 10 position. Now that means we're down to 2 races left in the 64 event 1990 U.S. Highway Association Mud Racing and Monster Truck Tour. The next to last event will be from Baltimore, Maryland. That's where we'll see you next. So on behalf of myself, Brett Kepner, and Jerry Devine, thanks for being with us.